looks like all empty. Just the componentry now, except for that. But that can stay, it's not gonna be in my way.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Josh and Kelly and Sophie.
And Sophie, of course, always Sophie. We are doing a bit of an upgrade video today. We're doing some upgrades to the electrical system. We've got three main projects we're doing. One is I'm redoing the bolt that is the connection for all of our grounding, because I realized when I first did it, I didn't put any Loctite on it. And so we want to redo that and put Loctite on it so that it's secure. We haven't had any issues here for a couple of years, but we would just want to make sure about that. So that's the first project. Second project is to install some extra USB and like cigarette lighter type plug here at the back, so we can access the rear tires with our air compressor easier. And then the third project is to expand the AC breaker panel, because we're going to eventually get Starlink and want to have that kind of pre-wired so that it's really easy. Then we can just connect it to Starlink and it'll have its own on and off switch. So those are our three main projects that we're doing. So let's get started. All right, so my first job today is all these batteries here behind me. This is our battery bank here. I have to take all of these batteries out and get to the panel that's behind there, because back there is the main grounding point for the whole system. And when I first put it in, long after the fact, I realized I never used Loctite on the bolt that's there. And so it has the potential, it hasn't yet, but it has the potential to come loose. And since it's behind a wall, it's not something you can get to very readily. So one of my jobs today, first job, is to try and get all those batteries out, get that panel off, get access back underneath there so I can actually take the bolt out, put Loctite on it, and screw it back in. I don't know how long it's going to take me. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to access it, but that's what we're trying. So in order to do that, first thing I have to do is I got to take all these cushions off and turn off the main power switch for the batteries to isolate the batteries, and then I can go through and disconnect them. So yeah, that's what we're going to do now. To be seen, but for now, we're going to turn off the batteries at the main switch. So now everything is off. I've got no lights that are working or anything else. Everything should be off. Okay, so this is the electrical box. Again, it's, pardon all you electrical enthusiasts to see this spaghetti bowl here. I'm sure you're cringing at it, but everything is perfectly labeled, insulated, and secured. And I've turned off all my relays. So these are my relays down here. There's another one down here, and this one here. So all of my charging points and all of my energy in, whether it's from solar or whether it's from the alternator, I'm just isolating all of those so that there's no energy coming in at all. And now everything is turned off. So you see on my electrical panel, even my battery monitor's off, the light switches aren't working, so everything is off, and the batteries are completely isolated. So now I can actually remove them. I have a wrench here, a spanner that I think is going to work. All right, so that seems to be the right size. Now what I have to do is get back in here, and I'm going to start at the back and try and disconnect the main one from the battery, and again further isolate these batteries. But the problem is, not the problem, but the interesting thing is going to be, when I put these batteries in, nothing else was in here. Matter of fact, I don't even think the bed was installed yet. I don't think the water tank was in there, so I had all this space to work with. And now I'm in a very tight area, so this could be very interesting. We'll see. See if I can get back here to begin with. It's a very tight squeeze, especially since I have to make sure I don't touch anything else. Yeah, this is tight. This is super tight. meant for small people, not me. But that should now have isolated the batteries so I can take them out and all the electrical systems should be completely isolated further. Okay, so now that I've isolated everything, I can take the batteries off, except I have a bit of a problem. And it's a big problem that may, I guess, negate the whole project, or this part of the project. And that is this. I'm trying to remove all these batteries to get to the panel behind there. But I'm looking at that panel now, and I realized I don't think that panel's big enough for me to even get my hand in, let alone get up there and undo the nut and all that. So it may be that that negative ground is going to go as it is, because I don't think I can get to it. So I'm looking at this panel here, and it's literally, the panel is about this wide, and I can't even get my hand in there if it was flat. So even if I pull the batteries off, that panel is so thin I can't get my hand in there. So if I can't get my hand in there, I can't get to the bolt, which means I might as well not even start. So I don't need to disassemble all these batteries and go through all that, because I can't get to it anyway. So I'm going to connect that one I just undid, that nut and bolt, put it back together, and we'll just have to go on to the next phase of the project. Okay, so I've got the battery connected back again underneath. What I'm going to do is, okay, so my battery monitor's coming up, which tells me that there's power going through to the shunt. But none of my other things are on, like my lights aren't working because the battery hasn't been turned on at the switch. So I'm going to turn it on at the switch and make sure everything is still functioning correctly. Turn that on. All right, I hear my fans kicking on. The heater's going through its setup thing. And if I turn on the bus bar, okay, so I've turned on the bus bars as well. And the bus bars are active. So my lights are active. Everything seems to be working as it should. So that's a good sign. So let me show you now what is going to be the next project. Okay, so this is the next project. And originally this was where we had our water inlet to fill our water tank. And this is actually a deck fill for a boat. You know, my background, I guess, in the marine industry, I try to do everything to marine standards here, because it's going to create a much longer and more robust lasting system. So I did that, but the deck fill here didn't work, because a deck fill on a boat is usually in the horizontal position, not the vertical, and it didn't like it. It kept spitting. It would fill, but it leaked a lot of water, and I didn't want to leak a lot of water. So we actually moved it up to here. You've seen us fill before. So it's actually here in a horizontal, actually underneath the end of the bed here, and the hose runs here and back. And it seems to work really, really well in that position, as it should, because it's a deck fill, so it's horizontal. So we now have this space back here. And I thought to myself, what can we utilize it for, as opposed to just removing it? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some 12-volt power here. I'm going to put both a USB 3.0 in here, as well as a cigarette lighter type of 12-volt power, because our tire inflator is the little air compressor we use for that is 12-volt power, and we have to normally have the van running and stick it in the 12-volt power, the cigarette lighters up in the dash, which is fine for the front wheels, but it's a real stretch for the back wheels. So I'm going to put that access here, so then we can go right to the back wheels, and that way, once we, you know, if we're off-road, we tend to deflate our tires a bit, give us better traction, makes a softer ride. And then when we get back to pavement, we have to reinflate them, and this will make that process hopefully a lot easier and smoother and faster. So that's the idea. So I'm going to put and install the actual bracket here in this. I may have to cut this out a little bit. I have to figure it out yet. And then I'm going to run the wiring back and connect it into the bus bars, and then it'll just be regular 12-volt power. But instead of pulling from the car battery with the car running, it's actually going to pull from our battery bank here, which in my view is a much better way of doing it anyway. So that's the next project. Okay, so here's the parts that I've got. So this is the actual bracket. Let me just take it out of the bag so we can see it and access it. So this is the bracket, and it's going to go like that. So I'm going to have to cut out a little bit of space for that to fit there, which is fine. So I'm going to have to cut that out a little bit, and that's going to be, one's going to be the USB 3.0, the other one's going to be the actual 12-volt cigarette lighter type socket. See what we can do with this. I don't hold high hopes, though. All we need from the jigsaw. I think I'm gonna have to try and clean it up a little bit with the Dremel if we need some extra space. But otherwise, I think it's gonna work. Okay, well, I've screwed the bracket in. Don't mind the fact that it looks slightly unlevel. It's going to annoy me, but other than re-drilling the screws, nothing's going to amend that. But for now, I'm going to go with it because it can be functional. But yeah, so that's in, and the dry fit on these seems to work. One fits there, one fits there, no problem. So everything should be good. So I'm going to mount them on really quick, and then we're going to do the wiring. But first things first, let's mount them. So both of these seem pretty firm on the back here. I am still trying to tighten them a little bit more, just to, the tighter the better, because we go down some pretty rough roads. I don't want them kind of coming loose, just from the roughness of roads and the vibrations there. So trying to tighten them down fairly tight so that they have got no play, but I don't want to crack the plastic either. So, but I think they're good, and now it's the wiring. Okay, so I've guesstimated the wire with a little bit of extra, because it's hard to add more wire, but it's easy to take some off. So I've guesstimated the wire. I'm going to now put some of this sheathing to protect the wire over it, and then I'm going to run it, cable tie it where I need to get it into place, and then I'm going to work on the both ends. So this has got little wire connectors that are behind it already, and then this is going to be wired directly to the positive and negative on there, and then that will obviously then go to the positive and negative on my bus bar. Actually, it's my 12-volt distribution panel, not my bus bar. But anyway, so that's what it's going to do, but I'm going to actually get enough of this to cover the wire so that the whole run is protected as well. And then from there, just a matter of putting it up and connecting it at both ends.
Josh has squeezed himself in back there. I'm here to
tell you, this is a tiny space, really tiny.
For a tall guy?
Oh, it's like contortionists just to get in here.
Okay, so what I'm doing now is I've run the wire, and Kelly dutifully recorded me squeezing into small spaces to do that. But now I'm going to splice the wire, join it to the ends of these, and you can just see them there that are on the backs of these things. Join them together with, I have these connectors, which are also heat shrink connectors. So I will connect them, and then I'll kind of heat shrink them with my little torch there. So that's a solid connection for that. And then we'll connect the other end, and then these should be live. I'll be back. I'm back. I have my stripper tool now, so I can strip the ends off of these wires, and then we should be good to get it all connected. Okay, so I'm literally, the ends of these are heat sensitive, And I'm literally, it just shrinks them onto the cable to create an airtight, watertight seal and to hold everything in. So that's what I'm doing.
So Sophie just loves hanging out. Probably feels so familiar to her. Hard to imagine all this fits in the back of the van.
I am just stripping the other end of this wire. And then I'm going to put some connectors on them that'll give us they're actually ring connectors. So it creates a solid ring around the post, the screw that connects all the electrical stuff together, which means that it's going to have a very solid sound connection that's not going to slip. That's the idea. Ring connectors. So you can see it's a ring, and the wire goes into the bottom there. So the wire goes in onto it like that, and then that creates a solid ring, so I can literally screw through there to create a solid connection that won't slip. So vibration won't pull it out. The screw would literally have to come back the whole way out in order for that connection to not be there. So it's a much more secure way of doing things electrically. And so that's what we're doing. Okay, so they're connected. Now just shrink wrap those, and they're ready to be screwed in for the final part of the connection. All right, looks like I'm running out of gas. I have to refill my little lighter thing here. It just finished that one. So I'm gonna need to refill it for the other one, but I have spare. All right, I think that's full now. Okay, so it's all connected. So now here's the final bit to test it. I actually had to look up the rating on the air compressor to find out what it took to know what I needed to do for these in terms of the fusing. And it said 15 amps. So I put a 15 amp fuse in here. I hope it's not too much, but we'll find that out. But for now, I'm going to test and see that the USB is working. I'm going to plug it in, and I'm going to ask Kelly to bring me her phone, and we're going to see if it charges. And if so, then it's working. So, all right, the lights are on. I don't know if you can see that. It's lit up blue. That's good. That means it's working. Plug that in there. Here's Kelly's phone. Plug that in. It says charging.
Woo-hoo.
So it means it's all working. So that's good.
If you ever had a table set up out here or needed to do anything, it's nice to have the extra.
Well, we have AC power, and now we have 12 volt DC power as well for USBs or whatever you need. So yeah. That's nice.
ABC, DC, AC, ABC.
Can't take her anywhere. Okay, so our third project here is to do some work here. So we're going to replace this. So this is our AC breaker panel, and we'll replace this with one that's about twice the size. It's gonna have 6 of these breakers on it instead of just 3. So we're gonna have these. We'll have another one for the Starlink for the future, and we'll also have some expansion in case we need it for something else. But it's gonna go here. But to do that, I literally have to cut out, because this was mounted. All of these are mounted directly into the wall, which is nice. It gives a nice smooth finish and all that. But from a maintenance standpoint, it's a nightmare. We can't get to anything. We literally have to take the wall apart to do it. So I'm going to be cutting these out, mounting them onto a new piece of, in this case, it's going to be starboard. Starboard is basically, it's a plastic plywood used in the marine industry. It's virtually indestructible stuff. So I'm going to be mounting all of this onto there, and then mounting the starboard panel onto here. So that in the future, if we need to access anything from a maintenance standpoint, we can literally just pull that panel off and it's all right there. As opposed to right now, I can't access any of it. So that project is a big one. And because we got to cut this, undo all this wiring, put all these faces into the new one, redo all the wiring, and then mount it back up. It's a pretty big project. And I'm thinking at this stage in the day, that might be a project for tomorrow. So yeah, we're gonna rejoin this in the morning and start that then. Good morning. Welcome to day 2 of our little upgrade series here. We are, I say we, it's just me at the moment. Kelly's at the gym doing a spin class, I believe. So it's just me at the moment, just getting things all set up. And what we're going to do today is literally take that off the wall. I cut a hole in the wall around that and create a new panel that our new AC distribution panel with 6 slots as opposed to the 3 that are here allows for not only our expansion into having a dedicated breaker for Starlink when we get it, but it's also allowing for future expansion for whatever we need. So that's going in, and we're going to have to put it in its own, in this case starboard, which is marine plywood, that's then going to go on this as opposed to it being flush. So that's the plan for today. I'm here to kind of get things started. I got a lot of measuring to do, a lot of disassembling to do of some of the basic trim work and stuff on the panel. So I'm going to start with that, and then we're going to try and measure things out and cut holes for them so it's all set, so that when I cut this and pull it out, we can disassemble, reassemble, and go straight into it. So that's the plan for today. Alright, so that's the first bit done. I'm taking that trim panel off. I was hoping to expose all the nuts or the bolts holding this in, and I've done that, but I've also got a slight issue in that all of my brackets that are holding up my overhead compartments are screwed into this panel, so I'm not going to be able to pull that out to get the view behind there that I wanted. So I'm going to have to do this screw only, and for it to come out to look behind to make sure I'm not cutting wires when I go in. So that's going to be a little bit interesting. I suppose in theory I could probably put that strip back on because I don't need it off at all. I'm going to leave it off for the moment, but yeah, that would have been nice to be able to pull this away from the wall so I could see what I'm cutting behind there, because all the wires are coming up into this and I don't want to cut the wires, obviously. So yeah, that would have been nice, but I'll do what I can. Alright, so I've run, this is the cable, the power cable that's going to power the Starlink when we get it. So I have enough to come up here to the panel. It's going to run behind the wall down through here, and then it comes here and then under the bed, and it's going to be powered back there, so somewhere in the garage area. Don't know exactly where, but I've left enough cable that it can run all the way to the back corner if we need to, so that way we've got plenty of opportunity to put it in its best position. So I've done that. Now I think I'm just waiting for Kelly to arrive, and then once she gets here we're going to start cutting. But while I'm waiting for her to arrive, this is the panel. This is called Starboard. It's basically a marine plywood made out of plastic, and this is what we're going to use. So I might cut this to size and then start putting in the patterns of all these shapes onto it, so I can cut them out so we can get them ready to go and hopefully make the rest of the process faster.
So I just traced a little template here for Josh while he is running to Home Depot. They're trying to cut the grass here. He's a boss, so good girl. Ready? Oh, this way. So, over here. Good girl. We have a guest visitor, don't we? We have a special guest. We're dog sitting for this little girl, Zula.
We are trying to disassemble these wall panels here so we can pull it out slightly so we can see behind there to know where the electrical wires are, so that when we cut out our shape here, we don't cut the wires. So that's the idea. Put that screw for a second there, Kelly.
It's pretty deep.
So when we say that we are literally bolted into the frame, we are bolted into the frame.
What's that?
I think we're going to be able to do this quite well. Alright, so it looks as if all the wires are come out and go back, so there's a gap against the wall, which hopefully means that the jigsaw will be able to get in there without an issue.
Hi, Zula. So we're turning all the power off. Never done that before. I have to ask him if I did it right. So we're safe. When I push the red button in, a little yellow lever just came down. Is that all you need to do?
That's exactly what we need to do. I just did
Okay.
the same thing here for the solar charge controller. So I just press this one,
Yeah, same thing.
and that stops it.
Okay.
So there's no power going through those lines.
Okay.
And what we've done so far is we've turned off all the inputs, all the charging inputs. We turned off the solar input to charge the batteries, and we turned off the car's input to charge the batteries. But the batteries are still there, everything is still live because we haven't turned off the main power. So this light switch, for instance, with these lights being on, all right, so those lights are on. When I turn the power off, those lights should go off.
They went off, and I heard the power.
Fan stopped as well, so everything's off now. So the whole system should be dead. We have no power coming in. The batteries are isolated. They're still connected, but they're isolated because the main on and off switch has been turned to off. So now, even if by accident we cut a wire, we're not going to electrocute ourselves because all the power's off. That's important. That's our electrical panel. It's now out, which is good because then we'll be able to access everything we need to and then go otherwise. And I think we managed to do it without cutting any wires.
Woo woo!
All right, so we're going to do a little bit of a cleanup here and then a disassemble. Right, so this is the new template that we've just done up. These are all the holes that I need to cut out for all the new componentry. So this is going to be where the new AC panel is. The other one was only half that size. This is going to be
the new battery monitor, the existing outlet, the existing DC outlet, and then the inverter on-off button and the light switch. So we can get all those, hopefully, in with minimal fuss. That's my goal. That's what we've templated it. So, all right, I'm gonna start drilling holes, and then we're gonna have to use the jigsaw to get the rest of it. So I am stripping really tiny. I mean, these are probably 24 gauge at least wires off of this controller for the heater, because it was hardwired in, and so there's no way to do it. So I had to cut it. So I'm gonna have to strip these down, then strip these ends down and connect them back together again. It's the only way to get this to work. So it's not ideal, but it is what it is.
You want to explain what just happened?
So this is the heater controller for our Webasto, and it's hardwired. So we had to cut the wires. So we cut them out here. It just took a lot of time. Kelly went and got me some parts, some of these connectors that I was missing. I didn't have enough. So she went and got some, and we cut them. We spliced them with great difficulty because the connectors are still too big. It's 24 gauge wire.
It was a four-hand job.
So the technically 24 gauge wire. We're using 22 gauge connectors, so there's still a little bit left. I did them, I spliced them, I crimped them, and one of them still came out. So we're having to re-crimp it with these to make sure that it stayed together, crimped. And then we had to tape each one individually so it didn't pull out. Then we had to tape them all together so they didn't pull out, and so there's no stress on that connection. And then because of that, it was the wad that what it was so fat it didn't fit through the hole. So we were trying to protect the hole, or trying to protect the wire with this, while I drilled a new hole above it. And the first time it worked, and the second time it didn't, and we chewed into the wire. So now I have to cut and splice all over again with some really, really tiny wires, and it's a pain. But this is for our heaters, our heater controller. This is essential. This is the only thing that makes this viable in winter, so we're going to have to redo that, and I'm just not looking forward to it. It was a pain the first time. It's going to be a pain the second time too. But it's what we have to do, and we haven't got much wire to play with here, so it's what we got to do in order to make it work. So we get to do it again.
Take two. So it's 5 o'clock and Josh won't stop working. He really wants to get it done. Everything has taken so much longer than we thought. I just took the dogs home, fed them, and let them get out of the sun to rest, and then I made myself a quick sandwich of chicken salad, which I had. So, and then just ran back. So we're trying to get the last wiring for the Starlink, but we can't fish it through the wall like we thought. So Josh is underneath in the garage, climbed underneath and drilled a hole. So we're going to fish it another way and try to get it up and hopefully be able to.
You need to be a dwarf or a child to get into some of those places.
So here we are, like 7 hours later, still working. And he started before I even got here. So yeah, hopefully we can get it done, because we have to, put everything in the garage back together. And yeah, I'm kind of done. But I think he is too, but he's determined to get it done today. So
I will get it done today. I'll stop until it's done.
I said, I'm hungry. I have to go eat. I said, I need a 15-minute timeout. Not the most relaxing trip this week, but we'll make up for it next week for something fun and entertaining. This is a necessary
evil.
Our
setbacks and frustration are probably entertaining of themselves. Watching this going, oh, those guys must be frustrated.
We don't have any ice cream. We don't have any pastries or bakery items to show or eat.
That's true.
Josh is trying to make me starve the entire day, but I wasn't having it.
So we've been working this afternoon a lot with really, really tiny wires, and I mean 24 gauge wires. 24 gauge wires, we're talking you know, a couple of hairs breadth, like it's tiny stuff. So now we're working with 10 gauge, and it's so much nicer. I can actually do something with them. My tools actually work, it doesn't just slide through it. So yeah, this is great. We're gonna clean up these ends. We're gonna put some ring ends on them, and then they're gonna be able to go screwed in right to there easily.
We're finally packing up. Do you know what time it is, Josh?
I don't know what time it is now.
It's like
What time is it?
12 after 7.
Is it really? Feels like it.
This has been one long day. But
It's been a very long day.
I know you'll show them inside. We got it put back together, but there's some final details we have to finish. So we just got to load the van up and then head home. Right?
Yeah.
Are you almost done? Are you almost done, Josh? Because I was done like 4 hours ago.
I'm reaching the end of my tether.
Oh, I had to tie a knot in mine and hang on.
Yeah.
This brings back so many memories of those long days working on the van. Especially the electrical. I still think that was one of the toughest things, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, electrical in general, I didn't find that tough, but the application of it is difficult because a lot of this stuff, especially now, after the fact, is in very, very tight, confined spaces. You're trying to work in there, in a tight, confined space. You know, you're doing contortions just to get to the space, let alone work in it. That's the difficult part.
I have to tell him because he, when he's concentrating and working really hard, he talks out loud real soft, and he was talking about the wiring and what to do, and it's so cute all day. He was so concentrated. I tried not to talk to him because he was thinking things through, but yeah, so cute.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
So, the end of a very long day. This is what it's like. This is all we've accomplished. So you notice at the beginning of the day, I showed you, we started taking off the trim. Trim's back on. This whole panel has been replaced. We've added this AC distribution panel, which is actually replacing the old ones. This is twice the size. So we've don't mind her. So we've done that. This battery monitor is new. I've yet to program it, but it's new. Our light switch is back in place. Our inverter switch is back in place. Our USB is back in place. Our outlet is in place. Our outlet cover is not, simply because we tried to put it on there, but the screws are a little bit long now because this is flush against the backing. And so I need to shorten the screws. I got to cut the screws down before they can fit in there. Otherwise, that would all be done. We've mounted our heater, our control module for the heater here underneath our temperature settings. It used to be underneath the old switch panel or AC panel, breaker panel. It used to be underneath it, but we've changed it just from a room standpoint to over here. So it's kind of there on its own, kind of separate from the rest of the gang, but it's all right. It'll survive. We had some real adventures putting all this in. This, we basically had to rewire it, but the problem was it's been rewired once. We were running out of wire. So it was a really difficult way to go. And these right here for the lights, same thing. We had to rewire them 3 times today. Each time we had to cut, then rewire, and then we splice them back together. Then we did it again, and then we got it caught in the drill, so we had to do it a 3rd time. It's just been a mess, all the stuff back here. Anyway, it's all back together. It's all good. It's all working as it should. The only thing I've noticed, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, is we got a little hairline groove there. Actually, it's on both sides from where we cut out the old panel. that this one doesn't quite cover it. So I don't know how.
Miscalculated a little bit.
I don't know how I measured wrong. You know, measured twice and cut once, and I did that, but maybe I didn't do that so much on the actual panel. I did it on this, but not on the part we cut out. Anyway, so I've got to put some little bit of caulking down there to smooth out those edges and take care of that. Otherwise,
you had to make this hole bigger too, and it's showing a little bit. But
no, that's the wire. That's the hole. That's the wire you see.
It?
Yep, that's the wire. It's not the hole.
Did I put it on?
You can't see the hole at all. No, it's in exactly as it should be. You did it right.
Okay.
You just can't see the.
I put the sticky tape on. I was holding it in place and making sure it was level. But this isn't level. But I mean, nothing in here is like 100% perfect. I mean, but that's the beauty of doing it yourself. I mean, there's flaws, and sometimes when you've been working so hard at something, you're like, oh, it's just not right. But then, I mean, we literally spent so much time on the floor, and we've never talked about this before, but we had a big piece of wood on the bed, and then we were driving, and we had to slam on the brakes, and it went flying and put a big dent.
Chunk in the floor.
Yeah, like the day we were finished putting it in, and we're just like, you can't fix it. Like, and so
it's got character.
Yeah,
came with character, and not us characters. We're characters too, but it comes with character. But I still say that it is very functional and very robust. And I still think it looks good. It's just some minor details if you look too close. But you know what? It is very usable, and we are very happy with it. And I'm very glad that we got this new stuff done, because this is going to make future maintenance, if we need it, so much easier to pull the panel off, as opposed to doing what I had to do today, which was cut the hole and then pull everything out.
Yeah.
Which is not the way to go. But now we don't have to do that anymore, because we have a panel in. Yay. Which I should have done to begin with, but I didn't. But it's in now.
Yeah.
So it looked better before, because it was all nice and flush on this wall. You know, this panel kind of sits out a little bit, but this is actually the way it's supposed to be. We just tried to make it look better to begin with, and it did look good. But when I had to expand this, then that all changed. So anyway,
sure, it's over.
Yeah, it's done. So thanks for watching it.
Yeah, appreciate
it. In all
it.
of its magnificent, glorious profundity.
Be sure to like and subscribe and share it with your friends.
Absolutely. And as always, we'll see you out there.
See you out there.